Hello, everyone. I am Jeff Kingfisher here, standing in for Mark Acramondo. Welcome to Wisdom Shares and Sacred Practices. Tonight, our guest is Ms. Gail Crosby, and The Great Mystery Revealed. Is that the name of tonight's presentation? I got it right? Okay, very good. Good. And we're looking very much forward to that. And just a quick little heads up, I'm not sure what's going on in the longer picture of things, but I do know next Wednesday, Peter Bedard and Vince Kiefner are going to be speaking here, and that should be, they're going to be talking about setting intentions for the new year, and that should be a really good presentation. I've seen them both individually here, and they're both great. So together should be a treat. So that is next Wednesday, and also momentarily I'll head up there and I'll put up some information on how you can text to give if you'd like to contribute to our center. Your contributions help keep our center afloat and programs like this. So without further ado, please welcome Gail Crosby.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's wonderful to be with you all again this evening. I love the Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Springs. It's a lovely place, and it just is so warm and welcoming, and I want to welcome all of you here tonight and those online. Thank you. So tonight I want to begin with just a little story. Some time ago, a friend of the Center for Spiritual Living and Osher Lifelong Learning passed away. His name was Michael McDonald, Dr. Michael McDonald. And I came to his memorial service here, and I was asked to speak a little bit about Michael. And afterwards, Reverend Eunice came to me and she said, we would really love for you to do a wisdom share sometime. And I said, I'd be delighted. That would be just great. So my first one was, I don't know, maybe 9 months ago. But in preparation for it, I was very concerned about what was going on in our world today, the chaos, and I was very concerned that that we as a society were having a very difficult time understanding why all of this was happening and what we could do about it. And I know that during the time of, during quite a lot of times we are discussing spiritual things, but we don't use that. We don't say things clearly and directly the way we need to. So I began to create a system, a program for the Center for Spiritual Living and these wisdom shares. So about 3 wisdom shares later, Mark said to me, Gail, would you be interested in doing a workshop? And I said, yes, but then I went home and I thought, what kind of workshop am I going to give? And how can I make this practical, educational, but more importantly, direct and understandable? So today I'm happy to announce that the story, which began here with Reverend Eunice and Mark asking me to do this, to be part of this sacred practices and wisdom share, came what's called the key. The key is an educational system that I have created. And behind me is a slide that shows exactly what that educational system is. It begins with the book. The book is called The Key, Unlocking the Mystery of Our Divine Human Potential. Here's a picture, here's a copy of it, and it just came hot off the press. So this is the first time that this book will be offered to you tonight. It's also on my website. But this book begins the journey, the educational process. Next come a series of 3 workshops. The first series is called, it talks about our state and our world in crisis. The second talks about the divine standard operating system. And the third talks about our human soul and our participation in that divine process. And so my website, if you'd like to go on and take a look at that, is thekeyunlockingthemystery.com, www.thekeyunlockingthemystery.com. And so I'm proud to announce that for the first time my book is online and available for purchase if you would like. I also had a very significant culmination of all of this work, and that was the first workshop that we had at my home at the garden on Saturday. And actually, our own Mark Accomando was there, and we had several other people who shared, and it was really an amazing experience. So all that short story to say, thank you so much to all of you, to Jeff, to Mark, to Eunice, and those who are here tonight, those who have come, and those who have been working with me in this effort. So tonight, I'd like to talk about this great mystery. When we think about this, all this that is, it's hard to put it into words. It's hard to bring one word or idea or symbol of it. So when we think of what is, all that surrounds us, it's nearly impossible to find a word to express it. In the end, we must simply say, all this is. But what is this? If this is good, true, and beautiful, as Plato insists, why then is our world, our lives, in shambles? Well, if you go to my website, you will see this, and then you can click the button that says the answer is, but I'm going to give it to you now. The answer's simple. This created humankind to be free. Free to think, reason, and choose. While this moves and governs all through a divine standard operating system, humans are free to ignore it and choose to govern themselves. This is called the human standard operating system. Its lack of harmony with all that is good, true, and beautiful is the cause of much of our suffering. Leaders have led and we have followed because the divine operating system has, until now, been hidden. Those throughout the ages who know this system have necessarily presented it to the world using a philosophical, religious, spiritual, and mystical voice. The time then, not yet right for a voice of great clarity. Today, however, mankind is drowning in its ignorance. The key, which is my educational system, has made this system self-evident, clear, demonstrable, and practical for the sake of our human happiness and to regain respect once more for our earth. Humans, when given a choice, will always choose the greater good, the larger truth, and that which leads to a higher beauty. It is in our very nature to do so. What then are the cause of our struggles? It's been an absence of a worldwide universal education that presents this great mystery in the full light of day, so we may then know what this is, how this works, and how we fit into all of this. This is a huge subject. This is abstract. This is difficult to comprehend. And so we have to use tools of understanding that will help us bridge that gap between what our human minds know and what we can learn to know about this great, vast mystery. So the tools that we need to use are perspective and symbols. There is a broad perspective. In this slide, we see at the top the infinite unknown. Then we see a picture of our universe. We see also a tiny picture of our Earth, barely noticeable in the universe. And then we see a picture of ourselves. And actually, in comparison to the universe, we are microscopic. So that is the broad perspective that we as humans can look at this, what is. Now we have the narrow perspective. And as you can guess, the narrow perspective is based on the human and Earth. It's what we know to be real and true. It's what we know that is. But the narrow perspective leads to human error, and we can see why that's self-evident. If you only know a little, and there's so much more to know, then it's easy to make mistakes. So to understand this great mystery, we need to use perspective, and we also need to use symbols. In the educational system, the key, this is a sample of some of the symbols that we will be using throughout the study. They're colors and numbers, alphabets, shapes, pictures, etc. Now, tonight we're going to talk about some symbols that are fundamental to the key and fundamental to understanding the divine standard operating system. The first symbol we are going to look at is called divine mind. The idea of an intelligent divine mind. That in comparison to the human mind. And as you can see, the human mind is minuscule. You have to look at it under a microscope to be able to see it in comparison to divine mind. And now we can actually understand and see the implication of us as humans thinking that our minds are greater than that which is, than this. This is a symbol for divine desire. That which the divine, the ideas that the divine has, the thoughts that the divine mind has, the desires, the actions, and the effects. This slide, again, correlates the greatness of the divine desire in accordance with the human desire, again, minuscule. This symbol is divine will. This symbol tells us that the divine mind and its desires are fulfilled through its will. Now we need to ask ourselves, is the human will on any par with the divine will? Well, let's take a look. Well, once again, we can see the relationship between the human will and the divine will. And now we have divine power. Again, we contrast that with human power. So this puts a very clear perspective on the difference between humans and their human standard operating system and the divine standard operating system. So let's go over these just real quick. We've got the heart, which is this beautiful heart, the symbol for this good will, the symbol for the true mind. And we are going to get into the symbol of spirit, soul, and body in just a bit. Now, I've deliberately placed this slide here. If we were to say, what is all of this? If we were to say all this is, again, we would have to use a symbol to represent it. So this is the symbol that the key uses to say, this is where we are. This is the relationship of the human to the divine, to the earth in relationship to heaven, and then the vast infinite unknown, which is beyond all of that. So I wanted you to see the whole picture now, and then we're going to go through and break this down and show you how this picture reveals itself step by step. So we will begin with this is, this was, this will be, this will always be. This is the symbol the key uses to describe that which all this is. This. What is the nature of this? This good, true, and beautiful mind. This beautiful heart, called love. This good will, called wisdom. This true mind, called reality. This beautiful heart, called love. This good will, called wisdom. This is the nature of this. Now I've created a symbol of us as humans. Humans are tripartite. That means we are made up of three aspects. We're made up of spirit, soul, and body. The divine idea of the human. This is the divine idea of a human. Now let me just take this a minute and talk about it. We look at ourselves and we see ourselves and we question, how did we come to be? Who made us and what was the idea behind making a human? And so when we look at the fact that the divine mind is this, then we can see that the divine mind's idea of a human consists of 3 parts: spirit, soul, and body. I'm going to show you how that connects in a little bit. So what we're looking at here is the symbol of this good mind, beautiful heart, and goodwill. Now, you'll see that the first aspect of the human is spirit. You'll also see that spirit is in yellow. It also represents mind. So, who created the human's good mind? Well, mind, divine mind, created human mind. And the human mind is, the divine mind that indwells the human is the spirit. It's our higher mind. Now, you're seeing on this slide the representation of earth in green, the representation of heaven in the white. You're seeing this with his mind, heart, and will, and you're seeing our body, which is made of the earth. Now we have a soul. The soul is able to verge to the above, to this above, and spirit above, and the soul is also able to verge to the body below on the earth. Interestingly, the soul is made with a mind, just like this infinite one with his infinite divine mind. Likewise, the soul is made with a heart and with a will. What does that tell us? It tells us that the soul is made in the image of the divine infinite one. What is the meaning of this symbol? As I said, the human soul is made in the image of this infinite one. What's the reason? Well, the divine desires progeny, children. The divine is often called the one, all caps. The one and the many describe what this is. This is our world that we live in. There is the one, and then there are the many. Excuse me. This is according to Plato. What is the purpose for divine mind to create the idea of a human? Well, the purpose is to infinitely perpetuate the nature of God, or the nature of the divine, which is goodness, truth, and beauty. Thus, this human soul has a heart, a mind, and a will, which is free to accomplish this or not. What then is the goal? Why are we here on earth? What is it that we're here for? The goal of the divine one is that his progeny, you and me, perpetuate goodness, truth, and beauty, as above, so below, as within, so without. In this and every now moment, to the best of our ability, in this time, place, and condition on earth. That is this great mystery. It's a tiny, tiny ray of light on what this great mystery is. but it gives us a place to begin. It gives us symbols and words to describe things that have been vague. Much of spirituality, much of these mysteries are couched in fairy tales, in legends and myths, and that's all well and good, but we are in such a time of crisis now. We need to know, we need to see where we are and who we are in this vast, great life that is not our life, but we live in the life of the One. It's important for us to know what this is, how this works, who we are, how we participate in this, and then to make a choice with our own good minds as to whether we want to participate in this. The system that I have created would likely take you a couple of years to go through. It's very in-depth. These first ideas that I'm explaining to you and providing for you are the very foundations and very basics of this. But the depth of it goes, well, I've been studying for 20 years, and I haven't come to the depth of it yet. As a matter of fact, in my studies, I'm considered very young, and that's 20 years. So what we need to do is, if this is something that is of interest to you, and you see value in it, you're welcome to come to my website. You're welcome to purchase the book. And the reason I'm offering this to you is because 20 years ago, Gail, me, I was searching, just like you, for the meaning of all of this and how to actually participate practically in this. And so the Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Springs was the catalyst that I needed to be able to take all of my years of education and to bring them into a system that could be beneficial to you. That's why I'm doing this. It's for you to learn. It's the very thing I wanted and needed all of those years ago. And I have practically applied it to my life in every way. The other day, I had a meeting with a gentleman who was a housing developer. He owns about 1,000 acres of land in Ukaipa. And for 8 years, I'd been working on helping to develop that land so that the city could bring in economic development through agribusiness and agritourism and the vineyard industry. And circumstances happened that I felt that I would probably no longer be a part of that, but I wanted to give all that I had given to the community to this gentleman who owned the property. And so I had my 90-page business plan with its 9 profit centers and how we could bring 3 communities together in agribusiness and agritourism for the benefit of all, along with a series of books I'd written and things like that. And it was sort of the end of a chapter for me. And so I went in to the historic house on this property where I'd been many times. And I had with me the 90-page business plan, but I also had the book. I just picked it up. It was the first copies off the press. And I thought, I'm just going to give it to him. So I said to him, and I held up the business plan, and I said, this is the culmination of 8 years of work. I said, but this is the culmination of 20. And I said, one of the reasons that it was important for me to write the business plan, to spend 8 years creating this, is because while this is the theory, the class, the book, the business plan, is the lab. I had to be able to, in order to speak with authority on this, I had to be able to put it into actual practice. And so it shocked him quite a lot. And he said to me, I have something surprising to tell you. The surprise is that I know I've just sold the land, the property, and by the way, the new owner is coming in about 10 minutes. I was surprised because I had given this with no strings attached, and that was going to be it. And so 10 minutes later, a lovely man came into the house, and he happened to be a person who's from Ukaipa, of all places. He was born and raised there, and he made it quite successfully in the hotel and the finance industry, and now in a housing industry. And he came in, and we introduced, and the developer said, "Would you like to share a few words with this gentleman, and of how what your involvement in this property has been over these years?" And I did. I shared with him, and he stopped me and he said, "Wait a minute, Crosby." He says, "Do you have siblings?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Oh, I know your brother. In fact, I just saw him a few years ago." And he said, "We used to play tennis together all the time and go have, hamburgers and French fries, and I know him very well." We were shocked. We didn't even know each other. And so I said to him, I have to make a confession. The confession is that, and I held up the book and I said, "This is 20 years of study. This and the business plan." I said, "This is the application, practical application." And I said, and what my goal was to create it in reality. So this is not just theory. This can be applied to businesses. It can be applied to teachers, to parents, to our government, to our leaders. And this is the purpose of this. I'm just going to read a quick excerpt from the book for you, and then I will end with this. And I'm speaking to you as I'm beginning this. It says, "What you may gain from the key." The first words are for you, dear reader. Your response to them provides you with a key that will unlock what you may gain from this book based on your needs and desires. To the reader concerned about our current world situation, if concerns over our world crisis or a personal difficulty finds you reaching for books you would have never considered reading before, you're not alone. We are all searching for wisdom's true answers to our very real and growing problems. It's interesting to observe that it's our pain, suffering, and confusion that drives us to search and opens us up to find. The content and apathetic rarely feel the need. Therefore, the key you hold will offer many straightforward and practical answers for the challenge you face now. To the reader interested in the mysteries, if you are interested in the divine, cosmic, and human mysteries, this will likely be your cup of tea. However, don't get too excited. Divine mysteries are only mysteries until they are known. The key you're holding requires more than curiosity and intellectual flights of fancy. opening this door and thereby finding greater knowledge, creates a corresponding greater accountability now that you know. This is not to discourage you, only to point out that there are consequences to all our decisions, even to reading this book. To the reader who is a true seeker. If you're a true seeker of wisdom, you have likely spent many years studying and searching for a clearer vision of the divine operating system and your unique place in it. All true seekers aspire to serve the highest good, truth, and beauty, and to become useful participants in this great work. Thus, for you, the key you hold will reveal much to accomplish the desires of your mind, heart, and will. To the reader who is a Gale, that's me. If you're a Gale, which means you're like me, you've labored for years to glean wisdom from the various particular religions and philosophies. Having done so, it's likely you've come to the same frustrating conclusion I did. If there are books and educational systems for those seeking universal wisdom at its highest standpoint, you are either unaware or unable to find them. In your hand, or in my hand, is the very key which for many years I longed and searched for. Now I give it to you as a formal educational system which emphasizes the universal divine ideas, ideals, laws, and principles, which are the source of all. And then I will just say this. Dear readers, I know your yearnings well, as I have been each of you. I also know your fears of being led away from the very truth you crave. I understand your lack of interest in the plethora of books on the divine from a human perspective and the glaring absence of those offering a foundation of universal principles. So, this is my gift to you. This is my offering to you. And I thank you so much for those who have come tonight and for those who are online and seeing this and those who will be listening to the YouTube videos over time. I'm here for you. That's the bottom line. I'm here for you. And if I can be of any service at all, please don't hesitate. My phone number and my information is online, and you can simply call me. Anyway, many blessings to you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. That was hard. Can you cut that out?
Okay, thank you, Gail. That was lovely. It was great. Thank you for your insights and your very pertinent questions, and we look forward to hearing more and learning more here and elsewhere with their workshops and everything else. So thank you so much for that. And so that's it for this evening. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Till then, namaste, peace, and blessings to you all. Thank you.